and he's gonna see you. He's gonna be walking his dog early in the morning. He's gonna see you and just be like, holy fuck, I need to go back to church.
24-hour live stream starts right now as soon as this video goes live, with a bunch of dumbass sub goals like 1v1ing you for $50 or spending $500 on my Amazon account like you chat does it, or even me shaving my head. Come make my life miserable. See you there.
3 hours of relaxing and beautiful Animal Crossing. Actually, no music. Andrew's gonna put music in the background when we make it into a YouTube video. That's when you say, yay, I'm really excited. Good job, just to making content and stuff. Okay, thanks, chat. Appreciate it. Wrapping up the context prior. A couple of months ago, maybe it was like maybe a month or two, maybe a month and a half ago, Hannah and I were going to Home Depot, and outside of Home Depot, everyone was like crowding around this bird on the ground, and it turns out that it was just like this little baby finch, and he had fallen out of his nest, which was on top of the Home Depot, just crashed into the ground. He was completely a baby, still covered in baby feathers, but he was like super nice, super cute, but he couldn't fly, had a bum leg, bum beak, was super fucked up. So Hannah and I took him from Home Depot, and we took him to this lady's house, because we called like the wildlife and restoration place in Colorado Springs, and they were like, we can't take him, we can't just take every injured bird, but here's the number of this lady that just takes in birds. Talk to her. I don't think that lady has a license to take in birds, but when we called her, she just sounded like the maid on Family Guy on the phone. She's just calling up and she's just, hello. Oh yes, you have bird. Okay. So that was the first bird experience. That was super good. That was on the Twitter. Andrew, if you want to throw up a picture, there was like 2 pictures that we took. It was just a random day. Yesterday, though. We found a second bird. I really want chat on the screen for this. Chat, can you guys come on the screen for this real quick? Wow, Pog. Good job, guys. Hey, Pog. I was looking on Nextdoor app for people to pull weeds. Turns out that a lot of people needed their weeds pulled. So there was like 4 people on there saying like, hey, does anyone recommend a good place a good company to pull weeds? And there was this one guy named Derek. That's his fake name. Guy named Derek was on there responding to every single person, just saying, contact me at, right? Contact me at, dropping his number. And I was like, this is either going to be a kid or it's going to be some fucking boomer dude who, whatever. The only other option was a company that's in town called 2 Patriots, 1 Chevy. Didn't really want to go with that one for some reason. Something about that just kind of turned me off. Too much masculinity in one company. So I decided to go with Derek, and I texted him. He texted back. He was like, hey, can I come over right now? I live a couple neighborhoods away. Can I come over right now? Take a look at your house. I was like, yeah, sure, man. I'm not doing anything for the rest of the day. We had no plans. It was going to be a boring day. My only plan was to set up that penis light on my wall that's actually an elephant. His name's Richard, a.k.a. Dick. Funny meme. Put a haha in the comments. Anyways, so Derek comes over and pulled up in a minivan. But Derek wasn't driving. Guess who was driving? His mother. That's the answer. His mother was driving the car. He was 15 years old. He and his sister apparently have their own fucking business. They are LLC'd. Their parents own the LLC. And they've been doing it for 5 years. That's child labor. Fine, though, with me. He and his sister have been doing this for 5 years. And they looked around my entire yard. Dude texted me after he took a look at it, went home, mulled it over. He said $90. I responded with, rounded up to 100, we got a deal. Dude is going to do some class act work. He's going to be hand picking all the weeds. Fuck yeah, man. Hell yeah, dude. Super, super excited about that. So yeah, that was like the highlight of my day at the point. It was 12:30 in the afternoon. I had done nothing with my day. You want to know the most exciting part about my day? Wasn't meeting Derek. I actually ordered Dunkin' Donuts and a local donut shop here called Hertz Donuts. I ordered a half a dozen of each to try to compare which one was better. Dunkin' Donuts sent us fucking garbage burnt bread. I'm not even kidding you. You can tell. That was the synopsis of my day so far, right? Pretty boring day. Then I get a FaceTime from my buddy Brian. We've talked about Brian a couple of times on here. I gotta fucking FaceTime for my buddy Brian. And I was like, oh, he's FaceTiming me? Sometimes he'll text me. Usually he just texts me. Occasionally he'll call me. And his wife is 9 months pregnant right now. Literally her due date is 5 days from now. Like, her due date is literally 5 days from now. So I was like, oh my God, FaceTime? I'm gonna see a baby. He's gonna FaceTime me, hospital bed, baby, right? I was getting excited. I prepared myself. I kind of like scruffed up my shirt. I lint rolled like a second while he was calling, right? I fucking answered the phone. FaceTime started with, yo, bro, there's a bird that won't leave my 3-year-old child alone. Can you come over and take a look at it? And he's just following this bird who's chasing his child around his front yard. And I was like, yeah, sure, I guess. Turns out that the bird is just a baby robin. He was a juvenile robin. So this is the bird right here. This is the bird. If you don't follow me on Twitter, this is the entire synopsis of this. Follow me on Twitter, except for the final video that I have to show you. So his name, he was named, even though we're like 90% sure that it's a girl, you can't really tell at young ages because you can't see their puss and or vagoo or anything like that. Like you can't see their anatomy until they're older. You can't do like an exam to figure that shit out. But because of the coloration, Hannah's like 99% sure that it's a girl. But Brian's son insisted. Actually, Chad, can you guess the name? If you saw it on Twitter, if you've seen it on Twitter, you're not allowed to guess. Can you take a guess at what the name is? Take a guess. If you saw it on Twitter, you're not allowed to guess. If you spoil it, you're a bastard. So meet Spider-Man. Yeah, of course. You guys are fucking stupid. How could you not? I don't understand how you couldn't figure that out by yourself. We are up to 18 subs on the stream total. And no top the other day. So if you're watching this on YouTube, please. When we came over, Spider-Man was on the front porch, hadn't left their son alone, and he was just kind of like dicking around. So I ran home and I grabbed birdseed because we didn't know what kind of bird he was at that point. But I also, in case he was a robin, because we had a thought that he was a robin, I got home and I brought back baby's mealworms. I brought him a bunch of mealworms, and turns out when I got back, we figured out he was a robin. And this is the first video that let me move chat over. Actually, I'm gonna leave chat because that's for leak. But this was the first video that ensued. Take a little bit of a look see.
A baby bird again for the fucking second
So again, remember we found one before, so that's the I get
time. And watch this.
If you put food up to his mouth, he opened up because he was the baby.
So we brought over some mealworms. He loves them. Watch.
We used to try and feed baby birds at our clinic all the time, and they won't take it.
That is the key.
Isn't that the most adorable thing you've ever seen in your fucking life, chat? Is that not the most adorable thing? He literally opens up like a bird, like a baby bird in a nest, waiting to accept the food. And hold on, that's the guy who found him. Does he not look like Jesus? This is the guy who summoned the bird. I was like, dude, in like 4 years, all right, if this bird survives, looks like stoner Jesus a little bit. He's actually he's got some dark skin in his history, so he's actually technically, the literal incarnation because of, dude was from the Middle East, so people keep thinking that man was pale skinned. Ain't probably not true. But anyways, I was like, dude, in 4 to 5 years, you're gonna, like, this bird, if he survives, right, he keeps coming back to you every day, and he keeps having kids, those birds come back to you, right? This dude's got a balcony on his house, right? You're gonna walk out in the morning with your Jesus getup on, okay? You're gonna walk out in the morning on your balcony, go like this, and 4 birds are gonna come and flutter down onto your arms, just like the prophecy foretold, right? And like one of those days you're gonna do something like that, and some dude is gonna be walking by and he's gonna see you. He's gonna be walking his dog early in the morning. He's gonna see you and just be like, holy fuck, I need to go back to church. So we were looking up juvenile birds because this bird has a lot of, if you can see it here, he has a lot of adult feathers, but then like under here, I know it's Twitter quality, so it's kind of dog shit. But actually, I probably could that's too lazy. I'm too lazy to upload these videos to you. I was like, I could upload these videos, but he's definitely a juvenile. So we figured out that via his age, he's probably about a month old, and via his age, he's old enough to leave the nest, but robins will still hang out with their family, with their parents, and with their siblings, and learn how to eat based off of each other, and learn how to hunt. But because when we first were there, he wasn't. You'll see in this video, he's not quite able to learn how to. He doesn't quite know how to eat, and he was still willing to accept food put into his mouth. So he was probably a couple of days out of nest, maybe a week out of nest at max. We think, just judging by our animal expertise, we think that he was probably a week out of nest. Yeah, so this is the second video of us putting a worm on the ground.
He is a juvenile, and apparently at their juvenile age, this is around when they're supposed to learn how to eat. So you can see he doesn't really understand to tilt his head back to eat the worm, because he never learned it. So that's why he's
watch this right here.
From us.
Watch this.
Doesn't really know how to eat it himself, but
he's gonna eat it.
He's attempting to be a bird at least, so that's good.
Yeet! Hold on. One more time.
So that's good.
Yeet!
Do it.
You gotta tilt your head back.
You got one so far.
See, he tilted his head back.
Good
Figured
job,
it out.
Dude.
He
Good
figured it
job,
out.
little Bubby.
He figured it out. So, yeah, that's the second video. After about an hour, we got him to be able to eat on his own. We had been feeding him a lot of worms, a lot of raspberries. We'd figured out we helped him figure out how to eat on his own. We got him to bird. So that was a good moment. But we had a little bowl of water that he kept dumping his own raspberries into and then eating. And then he tried to jump into the water, but at that point he had pooped in it. There were raspberries in it, and he had been drinking out of it. So it was really fucking nasty water. So I went into Brian's house, and I got a larger bowl of water because it looked like he wanted to take a bath. And this video is pretty self-explanatory. Play the clip.
Bath time.
Look at him.
You love it, little man.
Spider-Man. Spider-Man. Take a bath is Spider-Man.
Show. You got the whole neighborhood over here now. Started out with just the 4 of us, now it's 10. 25.
Mine is probably gonna come over here too.
Holly, no action figures in the bath. You know that when you take baths, no action figures. You need bath-safe toys.
Look at this, dude. Yeah, not the most cutest thing you've ever seen in your life, dude. We got a tiny little baby bird to take a bath. A fucking bath. So yeah, that happened, right? Again, we've been here at this point for 3.5 hours, right? This was a long time coming. This was a general process of, like, by this time, the entire neighborhood in, like, the near vicinity had all been, like, we're all crowding around this thing, just waiting, just finding the next thing to happen. And then, of course, we're back down to 0 subs. Fuck me. Then, of course, at this point, he starts hopping over to me after he had, he started drying off and shit. But at this point, he started hopping over to me. And so then these pictures come in. You could see one of the neighbors in my glasses. But he started hopping over to me. You could see that he's still soaking wet. Was this yesterday? Yeah, this was yesterday. He starts hopping over to me. And he hops up on my hand, so I pick him up. And then he hops up onto my shoulder. He starts to look like he's getting a little bit sleepy. Chef, thank you for another 3 gifted subs. He hops up onto my shoulder. He's getting a little bit sleepy. He's finding a good spot. And then he goes to sleep. That's his head. He tucks his head back into his back into his back feathers. He tucks his head behind him. And he goes to sleep. And he goes to sleep for about an hour. He just slept on my back. That was like the moment of my life. and everyone in the comments was telling me that I'm a fucking I'm a fucking Disney princess. I'm Joe Exotic. Also, I just talked about, if you're on YouTube, you don't know, I just talked about my, we made a new D&D campaign for my first time ever. I'm playing in D&D, and I'm a fucking druid who can talk to the nature and shit. So, it's kind of going along with the lore. Pretty good stuff. Really happy that, like, yeah, I thought you were going to say, and he pooped. He did poop. He did poop. He did poop on my back, yes. He woke up and he pooped on my back, but I can't even be upset with it. It's fine. That's okay. In the final clip on my Twitter, he won't get off my arm, or won't get off my shoulder. He woke up, he was chilling, wouldn't get off my shoulder. And so here's the final video. It'll get better quality of him trying to eat.
Oh, there you go.
No! Bring it back. Let's get it. Yeah.
Good job.
Look at that. He's getting better at eating. So that was all the videos on my Twitter. And shortly after that video, I took a video, but I took it incorrectly and I doxed where we live. He was actually hunting for ants in the cracks of their porch. Their porch is, like big cinder bulk, the big cinder bulk, cinder. What is it called? What is it? Cinder hulk, not cinder hulk, cinder block. Big concrete blocks. And so in between the cracks, there's a bunch of ants moving about, and he was hunting the ants. So we actually literally taught the bird how to bird. That was amazing. That was one of the most rewarding things for me. Yeah, so we taught a bird how to bird. But there's one final clip. And I'm going to continue the story and then we'll get to the clip. There's one clip that wasn't on Twitter that is a Twitch and YouTube exclusive. So, at this point, we had been like, all right, we need to let him go, right? He had flown into a wall a couple of times, but Hannah had picked him up, was teaching him how to hunt in the yard, and so we couldn't take a video of that. He was hunting in the yard. He had found some worms in the ground in the yard. He was doing a really good job. And then Hannah put him on his finger, and a bunch of the kids were trying to crowd around him. So Hannah literally just took him and fucking yeeted him, and he flew up onto a balcony of a next door neighbor's house, right? And so we were like, just watching him, appreciating him at that point. Eventually, he flew down onto a tree. He was just going back and forth. He was at that point fully birded, and we were really happy. And so I have a bicycle that the gear shifter broke on, and Brian was like, "Oh, we could probably fix that. Let's just fuck with it." And so we were fucking with some shit on the bike, and then I would do a test ride around in a circle, and then I would come back and we'd continue to fuck with it. Right? We were just tinkering. And while I was tinkering, out of nowhere, Spider-Man decided that it was time to fly and try to land on my moving bike. But I didn't see it coming. And so, rightfully so, a bird, your natural reaction to a bird flying into you is fucking Christ, right? And so I did that. I fucking Christed while on my bike, almost fell off, and Spider-Man couldn't land, and instead I had to dodge, and he flew across the street, and he landed in a tree. I was like, I'm sorry, right? And I didn't want to go disturb him because I didn't want to piss him off, so I just kept doing laps, kept circling around. 20 minutes later, Brian was like, I'm going to go inside real quick and get some lotion because he had his shirt off and he had a bunch of tattoos, and so they just got colored, so he had to lotion up his tattoo. We were in the sun for a while. So he went in to lotion his tattoo. So I was like, I'm going to go look for Spider-Man. This was like 20, 30 minutes later. I went to look for Spider-Man. I couldn't see him. I didn't find him. I looked all throughout the tree. He wasn't chirping. He had been chirping like the entire time, but I didn't hear his chirping. So I was like, maybe he left. Maybe he was gone. Maybe we'd never see him again. Hopefully we would. 20 to 30 minutes later, we were still tinkering around the bike. All of a sudden, lands in the yard. Brian and I are both like, is that? You think that's? And I just walked up to the bird, and he jumped up on my shoe. I put my hand down. He jumped up onto my hand. I put him on my shoulder. It was Spider-Man. He'd come back. And at that point, I got on my bike, and here is the final clip that I can show you. I had to send this to my editor so that he would blur out the background really well, so that he didn't dox where I live. Here is the final video of me on a bike. Going on a bike ride, we're on a bike. And there he goes!
Bye, Spider-Man.
There he goes, man. And that was the last time that I had actually touched Spider-Man. And he hung around for a little bit. He was hanging around in like neighbors' houses and going in trees, and he was like crawling around, and he was hopping around in the yards around us and kind of staying close. Then Hannah and I went home because we had to go feed the dog and you know, take care of baby and stuff. And we were gonna come back and have a fire pit with Brian and celebrate the day of love and shit. And as we were coming back, the neighbors across the street who had been like, you know, around in the guy who was taken and you could see the reflection of my glasses. Their family was out in the yard, and the mother of the kids who were over had the bird had Spider-Man on her finger, and I was like, "Hey, Spider-Man, what's up, dude?" And yeah, they were like, "Yeah, we're just looking after him." And this is where shit started to fucking piss me off. All right, so we're just gonna label this woman Karen, and Karen, if you're watching this, I stand by this opinion fully, and I don't think that you're a bad person, but because you had this opinion, it was my first impression of you, and now you're Karen. She said, "Yeah, we're thinking about putting him in our garage tonight." And I said, like, literally just reactively, and I probably said it a little bit mean sounding, but in the end, I met Karen, and she's a really nice person, and I have no ill will towards Karen, but I think that she just reacted stupidly. And I literally just said, don't do that. Like, I didn't say, please don't do that. I don't think you should do that. I was like, do not do that. Do not do that. I was like, probably came off like a little bit of a dick, but I was like, do not do that. This is a wild bird. All of these children the entire day had been crowding around this bird. They wanted to play with it. They were trying to, like, you know, like bait him with Legos to try to, like, you know, get him to open up his mouth and do the baby bird thing. And they were like wanting to hold him just for random fucking reasons and shit like that. And I was like, leave the bird alone. Leave the bird alone. He needs to be a wild bird. At the end of the day, he's a wild bird. And that's what I told the woman. I was like, he's a wild bird. He's a wild bird, and he needs to be a wild bird. Now, yes, he's young, but at this age, this juvenile age, he is supposed to be out of the nest, and he is on his own. The only thing that he still has left to do is to learn how to find food from his family, and we taught him how to do that because it seemed like he was lost, and it seems like he was having some trouble. And so I convinced her. I was like, if you want to do something, get a birdhouse and put it on your balcony and keep him in the birdhouse, and he can leave and come as he goes, right? Because they were like, we don't want the cats that live in the neighborhood to kill him. And I was like, but you don't understand. He is prime cat suspect, right? You don't understand. In the cycle of life, chat, what do predators go for? Do predators go for the strongest animal of the bunch, or do they go for the runt of the litter, the sick of the litter, and the ones that are the outcasts and outliers and away from everything and less experienced and less trained, to the young ones? That's what predators go for. You can't just protect prey. That's the cycle of life. That's just what it is. And you have to realize that he is a wild animal. And it was hard for people to realize that. And I'll give you one anecdote as well, is there's a good chance, there's a strong chance, and you can already put your F's in chat, there's a strong chance that he was going to die in the next week anyway. That the reason why his flock abandoned him, or his family abandoned him, whatever the fucking term is because he was sneezing once every couple of minutes. And that is the early signs of an onset of a fungal infection or some sort of upper respiratory infection. And his family probably can tell that that was happening and just kicked him out because he was weak and going to die anyways. So they're just like, you know, we don't want to spread anything. And that's what animals do. What animals do. If you're sick, you're outcasted, especially at a young age. And so it sucks. It really sucks. And we can hope that he survives. We can hope that it was just like he's got allergies, or because it wasn't frequent enough to say 100% he's dying, but it was not infrequent enough to say that it was just because birds do just sneeze. They sneeze all the time, just like we sneeze all the time. But it was frequent enough that it was like, you know, something's going on. He either has an allergy, something's going on, right? He's gonna fucking or he's gonna get a cold and then get over the cold. That could also be an option, is that he was just getting a cold and then he was gonna get over the cold. That also happens because we did have a random cold spell last week. So maybe he got outcasted last week, or like late last week, and then the cold spell hit, the storm hit, he got a cold from the storm. That could have happened. So we'll see if I'm going to probably go back to his house as soon as the stream's over today, and I'm going to go see if I can't find him and see, like, I'll be over there for like an hour and just like kind of sitting outside the house and just chilling, whatever. But we can hope that he's good, that everything's great, but we don't know. And there's no way to know. Why did you have to make it somber? Because I want to give you guys the reality of it. It was a great day. We helped a bird figure out how to eat, how to hunt. We got him to get back on his feet, and we gave him everything that we can. The reality is, too, is you're like, why don't you take him into a vet? So the reality is, one, we know that the wildlife organizations around here aren't taking in any injured birds right now because with the past bird experience that we talked about. Two, when we had that past bird experience, we called around to 5 or 6 different vets in the area. No vets in Colorado Springs. 0 vets in Colorado Springs look after wildlife because it's just the policies. Most veterinarians, most vet offices won't see wildlife because it's just too much of a hassle. There's too much of it, and most people won't pay for it. So every single vet that we said, when we came in, they were like, if you want to pay for it, we can humanely euthanize him. That's all that they said. That's the only thing that a vet office will do, is if you're willing to pay like $80, they'll put an animal down for you. So we did all that we could to give him the best life that we can. And hopefully I can give you good news in like a week's time. But I hope that you like the story of the bird. Spider-Man lives on in our memory. Only if we put our dicks in chat and sub to Frost Prime, though.